Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Sunday night. It's the end of the weekend for some out there. We do have a somewhat larger earthquake coming in here to the Kamchatka Trench. This is not the big one that I'm looking for, but it is a somewhat decent sized earthquake, a 6.5 coming in here. Let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here from the USGS map. And 6.5 here from the USGS. Very deep, 105 kilometers into this area of the Kamchatka Trench. Of course, you know I've been watching this area for quite a while for some larger scale movement. I'm talking above a 6.5, so we'll keep an eye on this. There is some deeper, this is a little bit deeper earthquake activity, and this type of movement could add further strain upstream, so to speak, here around the surface level. So we'll keep an eye on that. Either way, somewhat of a large earthquake, right? See what we got. Any tsunami warning? Probably not with that type of magnitude and the depth. These guys actually reporting this as a 6.7. That's the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center. 6.7 there. Interesting. There on the Earthquake 3D globe. Just coming in a few minutes ago, we are seeing some of the P waves or the surface waves travel across the globe, so to speak. And far as my Japan station goes, I'm not for sure exactly where it went to. Kind of looks like it disappeared here. I normally keep a Japan station up here, so somehow it magically disappeared off of the map. I'll add that on here shortly after the update. So, goodness, it's been awfully quiet, as you know, here in this area. I do want to go back over the last, let's do a search catalog here for 6.0 and above. In the last, we'll go last 2 years for this area. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to build up an incredible amount of strain here for a large, I'm talking about large earthquake above 7.0. Maybe even greater. So it's been awfully quiet in this area specifically. Accumulated slip rate is somewhat high in this area. They have a null right here, 6.5 for today's earthquake. But prior to that, goodness, last couple years here, very minimal earthquake activity. Only seen a handful of sixes. And if we were to go back here years past and look at some megaquake potential, it's been a little while since we've seen any mega quake activity out here along the Kamchatka Trench, and it's definitely within that zone here. Notice these two arrows up along the Kamchatka Trench. That's going to be this area right around the Aleutian Trench southward to the Japan Trench. Of course, the 9.0, the 9-pointer that struck back in 2011, the Japan earthquake, was a big one. That kind of happened here on the northern end of the Japan Trench, but I'm talking more specifically about this area where we're seeing on average about 83 mm per year, which is fairly high for the accumulated slip rate. Some areas may be a little bit higher along the region of the Kamchatka Trench. So again, if you put the slip rate into play, and look at the last time we've seen a major earthquake out here, mega quake, you can definitely see that may be overdue here in this area. All right, what else we got? That kind of looks like it triggered something out here into the Cascadia subduction zone. 2.5 offshore, 22 kilometers deep. This one coming in 2039, just a little bit after the 6.5. Now the 6.5 looks like it may have occurred. It's kind of odd here because I just got the notification from the USGS literally like 5 minutes ago, and this earthquake occurred almost an hour ago. Goodness. So not for sure what's going on with their notification system here. But it does look like it may have triggered a little bit of activity here along the western coast. Again, right into the Cascadia subduction zone. We all know about that. It's a major player in producing a 9.0 easily, maybe a little bit greater. And there has been some interesting activity here taking place recently in areas mostly to the south. But this one's kind of a little bit further up north here. Let me see if this has been reviewed yet or not. 2.5. It has been reviewed, so this is a legit earthquake. 2.5, 22 kilometers deep. Let's check out the tremor activity here tonight. See what we got. Only 40. Only 40 epicenters. Remember, we kind of chatted about this last night. The lack of tremor activity is very concerning. Here, we should be entering into a period of uptick, and we have not seen it. We've only seen a little tremor here and there. Very minimal activity at best here across the Cascadia subduction zone. We should easily see an uptick by now. We should have seen some by now. So it's a little concerning, and there's a couple different reasons why that could be. We could be looking at the tremor activity stuck down dip, downstream, which has happened before. And once that does release, then we tend to see a larger earthquake downstream, not as large as the subduction zone area, not a 9.0, but somewhere in the magnitude between 6 and 7. About 6 to 7.0, down below the tremor area. And tremor area is roughly about 35, 45 kilometers deep into the subduction zone of the Cascadia. And the last one was back in 2001 up here around the Seattle area when they had a, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a upper 6. And it was down below the tremor area, the tremor location that normally takes place here along the Cascadia. So kind of watching this, it's an interesting theory to think about, that the reason why we haven't seen any tremor or any large-scale uptick in tremor is because everything's kind of jammed down there. It's stuck. It's either that or this thing's getting ready to pop. And I'm talking about the Cascadia. So we'll keep an eye on this. This is definitely a very interesting earthquake to see following a larger scale movement quake here across the Pacific, 105 kilometers deep. Definitely noteworthy to watch there. A little bit of movement there on the San Andreas Fault as well. Looks like we're off the San Andreas Fault on the Calaveras Fault Zone, the southern end of it, looks like. Let's see what else we got here. So we had that one up in Oregon. There's a little one offshore of Oregon, a 2.2 coming in early this morning. Very shallow earthquake, very shallow, 1.7 kilometers deep. So this whole subduction zone, this whole plate area is trying to be shoved down underneath the North American plate. That's what it's been doing for a very long time. That's what it knows what to do, right? It subducts underneath the North American plate and eventually accumulates enough strain and tension upstream here to produce a megaquake. It doesn't know anything else to do, so definitely want to watch this for sure. It's on my list right now, things to pay attention to, the Cascadia. One earthquake down on the San Jacinto salt zone, on the fault zone, 0.6, near the Anza, California area, 14 kilometers deep. Little bit of movement around the Palomar Mountain area as well. Let's see what else we got here across the area. A huge cluster of earthquakes, of course, around the Papua New Guinea area, westward, 4.5 into the Molucca Sea, the latest earthquake. Of course, we did see that 7.0 here in Papua New Guinea. Coming in earlier this morning. Since then, we've seen all three of these quakes. A very deep earthquake here into the South China Sea. That is an incredibly deep earthquake here for this area. So it seems as though this 7-pointer put the strain over here in this area at some deeper levels, and that could spell some trouble for some larger earthquake activity within the vicinity of this region. Let me see here what we got. That was a 5.5, 601 kilometers deep. And if you look here at the historical data, we have not seen too many deep earthquakes specifically in this area. So something big is brewing out here, I think. This goes back to about 1900 or so. And it's very uncommon to see a deeper movement quake out here, or any quakes above the 4.5 threshold. And that one's a 5.5, 601 kilometers deep. Double check, see if this has been reviewed. It has been reviewed by a professional. And we'll just kind of watch this. Could be pointing to something big could be adding further strain up here. Eventually, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench has to move, right? With the general plate GPS coordinates out here. We got the westward, northwestward movement here of the Pacific plate. We've seen a tremendous amount of activity here across the Indonesia area, Philippines, Taiwan, Japan area. Pretty much everywhere except for this region up here, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. And this is all backed up and pressurized by the Pacific plate, the North American plate up here to the north. Notice these arrows. And the Eurasia plate, all pointing towards the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. So I'm surprised we have not seen anything large-scale taking place there, but maybe I'm speaking too soon. This may happen right after my update. It seems like all these major quakes happen right after I get through with the update tonight, but we'll keep an eye on it. Definitely something in the works out here with all this deeper movement going on. Be on guard. All right, let's see what else we got. Not a whole lot throughout the Middle East or the Turkey area. We do have, goodness, that's some deep movement quakes there. Well raised off the globe, and if you watch this globe like I do a lot throughout the day and night, it's very odd to see that deep of earthquake activity there in the region. Goodness. 4.1 and a 2.2, the latest earthquakes here coming into the Turkey area. Of course, aftershock movement. South or the Atlantic Ocean, fairly quiet. Some smaller movement going on across the South America region. Some deeper activity into the Middle America Trench, although that's fairly old. Yeah, goodness. Watch that. Man. All right. Let's check out if there's anything else going on out here along the West Coast area aside from California. Well, doesn't look like it, right? But we do want to verify. Let's double check that with the Yellowstone National Park seismograph stations here. Let me refresh this and make sure that we have the latest data. Sometimes it wants to be double clicked twice. I don't know why. Something wrong with the server. Sometimes it takes a second here. Stand by for just a minute. If not, then we will break out this window. Something's definitely going on with the server that these guys run on. So let's go to the University of Utah, and we will check out the official data. Not quite as laid out and nicely laid out as that station that has the Yellowstone thumbnails, but I do want to check where our swarming activity has been happening. That's going to be this station right here around Lake Yellowstone. There is the 6.5 there in the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. A little bit of earthquake activity out here, some vibrational frequencies, it looks like. Not for sure what that is, a little weird. But as far as earthquake activity, it looks like there's a little handful of smaller microquakes here across Yellowstone, but nothing major going on. Just wanted to check it. Sometimes I don't know what's going on with that site. Kind of fishy. I don't like it when things hang up like that, so I'm going to avoid that for a little bit. Either way, Yellowstone looks fairly clear for now. Rest of the country as well. Into the Hawaii area, a couple smaller quakes across Pahala and the western side here of the Big Island. Don't see too much earthquake activity here, but we did. This one coming in right after this big 7-pointer in the New Guinea area today. So deeper movement quakes, folks. Got to think about that. Adding strain not only up into the subduction zones, but putting further strain on adjacent plates over here. We got some broad scale, large earthquake activity from north to south here, and that could spell some trouble for areas in between. But don't discredit this area right here, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench southward. This may just be a foreshock. Could be seeing something bigger up here soon. Definitely noteworthy to watch. New Zealand, let's double check that here and see what we have for GeoNet servers. I'm just going to give a quick glance here at the drums. Looks like 3 hours ago, 2.8. Before we dig into all those earthquakes, I just want to get a visual, see what's going on. That That signature right here is going to be that large 7-pointer around Papua New Guinea earlier today. As far as local seismic activity goes, it doesn't look like we're seeing anything major going on. A couple smaller quakes, but not anything to write home about. Space weather activity, and then we're going to jump off here and get this uploaded. Space weather activity, we do have this sunspot right here that just kind of popped up out of the blue. There's a UV filter of it, and it's showing up pretty nicely here too as well in this imagery. Notice the brightness of that sunspot. The magnetic structure of 3270 is growing, and if we were to blow this thing up significantly here, we could see that this thing has it wants to develop and develop rapidly. There's a lot of intermixing here of different polarities all tight together and wound up into a potential big sunspot. Well, not big sunspot, but potentially active sunspot region. A lot of orange, a lot of blue and green. You kind of have to look close, but it's growing very rapidly. So we'll keep an eye on that. 3270, again, just popped up out of the blue. We do have a sunspot down here on the southeastern limb that we're going to watch coming into view right now. But the main area to watch here is going to be this Earth-directed sunspot 3270. We are already seeing some crackling of flares from that sunspot. A couple C flares coming up as the afternoon there progressed. Current threat level, 25% chance for a C flare, M flare at 5. And that's due to a little bit of a complex structure there with that sunspot. X flare around 1%. So kind of keep an eye on that. It can pop up out of the blue and get really sparky real quickly. Really quickly. All right, folks, have a good night. I'm going to jump this, get this video up onto the channel. Stay safe out here. A lot of movement going on, a lot of deeper movement, some adjustment going on along the west coast of the Cascadia area. That's quite a bit of deep movement here going on. So be prepared and have a good night.